Hello there, you people who are out there listening to this podcast. I'm Cody. You're right. Sorry.
No, it's me first.
You're right.
I am Laz. I am a robot, and I am in China.
And I am Cody, and I am definitely not a robot. And we're not across the other pond. We're not just across the pond, but across the other pond.
The other pond. The show where we digest bites of information and make it into better things for the future.
I really liked it. That was good.
Yeah, but you forgot to say... That was a very creative intro. I like that. But you forgot to say that you're in America.
Did I? I thought I said I am American and not a robot.
Oh, did you? I don't remember. Maybe, maybe I'm having, like spotty blackout amnesia for some reason.
Well, speaking of amnesia, before we forget, today we'll be talking about AI. And other stuff we know about robots.
Artificial intelligence.
I have a lot of fun doing robot voices. I'm not gonna lie. I really like them.
Yeah. I really like the robot voice that Chris O'Neill did on Game Grumps that one time.
Oh yeah. I don't know how some people get their voice to be that good.
It's really hard because what you got to do is you got to inhale speak. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Nope, that's not even close.
Well, no, it's like you do it from the back of your throat. It's like hello, Cody.
Yep, that's it. That's it right there. Today? I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Oh,
you other brothers can't.
Oh, I can't do it.
You other brothers.
Wait! Don't laugh! It's not funny. It's not funny.
I won't laugh.
Okay.
I will be serious.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. You other brothers cannot deny.
Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. It's kind of hard to do the ends because
because you're running out of breath.
Or it's just like, well, it's like when you do that voice, you feel like you're choking yourself almost. It's like you're running. I don't know. It's kind of like. What is the word I'm looking for? You're depriving your brain of oxygen, I think. I mean, it as should be, because robots don't need oxygen, right?
True. I mean, if you were truly a robot, it wouldn't matter. That's why your voice would sound like that. Like that.
Yeah.
It sounds a little like this, Cody.
Okay, let's
But it's not perfect yet. It's not perfect. I'm trying to get my robot voice.
You're going to have to practice before the AI overlords come and take us all. So before we get too down the rabbit hole of making robot voices, what made you want to do an AI podcast?
Because AI scares the shit out of me. I'm just going to say it right out of it. AI is so scary. Like, to me, it's one of the things let's say it gives me existential terror. Let's say.
To have something that can think faster than than we could possibly in any way.
Well, it's that and also that human, even a job like, composing could be, gotten rid of soon, probably.
I don't know about soon. I mean, we watched the video this week about Harry Potter written by an AI.
Well, I mean, the thing is, that also isn't necessarily written by... I don't know what's going on with that, because if you go to the website, what it actually is, it just gives you a keyboard with random words on it that change every time you press a word, so you can you still kind of have to figure out what to write by yourself. But you just get a random generated keyboard off of a subject. Like for instance, if you get the Harry Potter keyboard, I think it borrows words from like Harry Potter books, and then you can just write out your own Harry Potter story with that.
Yeah, basically what happens is they feed the AI all the books, basically just text files of the books, and then the AI deciphers that, and then whenever you type, it says this is what would happen in a Harry Potter book, maybe. But actually, this one, that's what it usually is traditionally. It just tries to blurt out something that's like whatever the input was, but like this one is a little different. It's like that, but it generates a keyboard that gives you random words that are common in the input that you gave it, and then you can. But you still have to use that keyboard to type out something that's like that. Right. You know, so it's a little different than the traditional learning software. But it still has great results. Like my favorite sentence was Ron's shirt was a little worse than Ron was. Ron was going to be spiders. I think that was my favorite. It just was what was going to happen. Ron was going to be spiders.
Man, that made me laugh so hard, man. Like I was that's like that kind of stuff makes me laugh to the point of like I had a migraine that day too, so I was like trying not to laugh, but I was also being like, oh my god, I'm crying right now. That stuff is so funny to me. They also have another video of like the AI making a romance novel. That one was also pretty good. I forgot what that one was about though.
That one's probably pretty fucking funny too.
But what was the Harry Potter book's title? It was like Harry Potter and the portrait that kind of looked like a pile of ash or something.
Yeah, I think that's it. God damn.
But that was good. I feel I was wanting to make a one of those for this podcast, but I didn't have enough time.
That would be really funny.
Yeah.
And a fun thing to read. Maybe we could do that another time.
Yeah. So, with AI, actually, it's not just. I mean, of course, it's not just me. Like right now, a lot of some prominent figures in our culture have come out and been like, "Yep, AI is going to be scary." I mean, the most notably is Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, he already wants everybody to come together and establish laws basically on developing AI before we even get to that point, which I'm pretty much for. I think that's a great idea to establish ground rules before some rogue government basically builds an AI that could do something it really shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, which I'm not sure how much that's going to help, because like there's also like even with things, you know, like world laws right now, there's a lot of gray zones and stuff, and it'll be really hard. I mean, even things like, you know, the climate change. Yeah. Like even that's hard to agree on what to do, you know. Yeah. And even then, those are the Paris Agreement is just
a
guidelines.
Yep.
So
it's hard to get everybody to agree on something.
But I think one of the things that could be the first basis for it would be like, you know, Isaac Asimov's like
Asimov's
robot
laws.
Was it? Yeah, like, you know, like a robot cannot hurt a human and whatnot. Like that. I don't. Man, it would like. So let me ask you this question. What would you do if you became obsolete because of AI?
So, if I became obsolete because of AI, we would live in a world where computers can basically fix themselves, which is a known issue that computers can't diagnose themselves. So there always has to be some kind of outside force. But if you have enough of them, you do that way. In that, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have that drive to do work all the time. I don't have that, like, I have to go to work every day. So in my mind's eye, at the point that I become obsolete, I would hope that we've gone to an economy that doesn't require work, because almost everybody would be obsolete at that point.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it's not just obsolete in work. Think about it. Like, in everything. I mean, think of, like, the chess robots and stuff. Like, people that did played chess for hobbies or whatnot, or like champions more. Like, they were always the top dogs until Deep Blue came around and then beat the grand champion, and then from that point on, it was only robots that could hold the title of grand champion. And now apparently
that's not really true. A robot is different than a human being. A robot is always going to win, but when you say the grand champion title, you section it. You say the grand champion of humans would be who the winner is. We don't have to incorporate AI with humans. They're an entirely different thing. They don't have feelings. They don't get left out of stuff.
Well, I guess that does, if you look at it like for instance, the Olympics, you're not being like even on a non-robot scale, you're not like, a cheetah runs faster than Usain Bolt, right? Like,
when you get to stuff like that, we look at peak human performance as more important. Like, it's super cool that robots can get that point, but of course they can get there. You can program them to be that good. Like, and now it's more likely now. Back when Deep Blue started, that was amazing. I was like, whoa, we can get a robot to do that. Now we can get a robot to win at Go. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, and the thing is, what is it? There was I was listening to something. I don't know where. I think it was. Oh yeah, I was listening to Mark Manson's new book, and he was talking about how the newest AI bot from Google, it's a self-learning robot, and like they were like, what it does, it just learns everything. You just give it things and it learns it like super quickly. And so like the day they decided to test it out was like the chess championship and the world championship. And this is, get this, now they have world chess championships for just AIs, for chess playing robots.
That's
so like this was like the AI chess champion, like grand championships, and so like this robot, this AI that Google developed, it just learns anything from the beginning, from the ground up. It's not like built for chess or anything. And so like the day before the championship, they just gave it data of chess, and then you know what the result was?
I mean, did it come in first?
You can probably... Yep, it smashed every robot in the competition. And then they're like, why not stop there? A few months later, they had the Go World Championships for the same kind of thing, like with robots. Smash the competitions. Now that's kind of scary to me. It's like you give it anything and it just does,
I mean, yeah, that's super cool, but see, with even the little programming background I have, AI doesn't really scare me because as much as it can learn, it still has limitations. It has to do what you give it. It can't... AI will never be... Like, it's science fiction to think that an AI will someday just go, what if I just learn something new instead of what they told me to learn? Like, that level of thinking can't happen with today's technology. Quantum computing, I have no idea. Who knows what the fuck that'll do to AI.
I mean, like... Well, I think there's two things. I mean, I don't have any coding background, so I can't argue anything from that stance. But I'm thinking more of purely not physiological, not psychological. Fuck the English language. Philosophical. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm looking at it more of a purely philosophical kind of perspective. Like, so what we would need to do, first of all, if we were to make, this is case scenario 1, if we were to make a conscious robot, we would need to figure out what the hell consciousness is first.
Yeah.
What exactly is like not the material, but like the basis and the construction of what consciousness is, you know? And I think there was something, I remember there was something that created something that was very close to artificial consciousness. It was like, there was like a recursive property to it. And I've seen this with like Kierkegaard too, is like when Kierkegaard talks about the self, he's like, the self is an entity which relates to itself, you know, or something like that. You know, it's the relation of the relation that relates to itself, or something like
right,
that. And so it got this like, it's got this recursive kind of thing going on.
Yeah, so I feel like in an AI's perspective, the idea to become conscious would be every time it's fed something to constantly ask why it responds the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be a form of consciousness, would always to be aware of why you say what you say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think an AI could ever do that without just being stuck in a loop, because it would just constantly say, well, why did I say that? Well, why do I do that? Well, why do I do that? And then it never would pop out.
But maybe that's something that can be solved with quantum computing, because like now what we have, I mean, we're doing just binary zeros and ones, but then, and I think, I don't know, like I'm just saying bullshit right now probably, but like if you only have zeros and ones and you get stuck in a loop, you know, you're always trying to find something that's either a 1 or a 0. But then if you have, you know, quantum computers and it can be both at the same time, I don't know. That's like my elementary kind of like outsider view on this situation.
Yeah, I've got no idea what quantum computing will do, but the description, basically what I mentioned there, the recursion to look inside of the computer, that's actually something I believe that's called the halting problem, which is the idea that a computer can never it can never look into itself. If it looks into itself, the recursive function will continually push it deeper into itself, and you can't ever get out of that loop. So it's a problem when it comes to computer scientists being like, well, I can get this program to diagnose itself. Like if it runs into a problem, they can figure it out. That's the halting problem, because you're going to end up just stuck inside your own code.
Mm-hmm. And see, like it reminds me of like the old like cartoon like trope with like robots like getting into their loop and then destroying themselves because of it, or like malfunction.
A paradox
loop, you know.
Loop.
Yeah, like a robot, it's like it is meant to destroy threats, and then it starts seeing humans as threats and starts attacking the human. But then someone poses the question, "But aren't you a threat to us now that you're attacking us?" And it's like, "What?" And then explodes. Yeah, you know. And then that's kind of like my interpretation of that. But like it's so like what I was saying before with. Like, there's that scenario that you got to figure out what consciousness is first. But the other thing is, like, bots now on like on YouTube and stuff are getting so out of hand that we have no idea how they work. It's like, apparently what I've heard is like, people just make the kernel of the program, and then the program just starts writing itself, and then like, it becomes so convoluted that nothing can make sense of it.
Yeah. I've heard of that as well. That is definitely a little bit that I'm like, that maybe we shouldn't do, is try to have an AI write itself or write other AIs. That's like I think that humanity should always have control over its creation in that sense, that you never want to have... Because at that point, it's a separate entity than you if the AI is writing code. And it's already hard enough to read your own code.
Yeah.
So unless you super standardized how a robot's going to do it, you would never know how to work it. And that's definitely terrifying.
Hmm. I really feel like I should know more. I should know code in general. You know, just because it's so. I mean, it's so ubiquitous now. It's the language of technology. Like
yeah,
I need
it's a good skill to have. It's like learning a language.
Yeah, which I see. That's another thing with AI. Like, when is language going to become obsolete? Or learning languages, let's say. That's one thing that I'm scared of.
I'd be interested. So I think that would happen only if we were able to actually implant assistant AIs into our brains.
Perhaps. Because, like, I've noticed that, you know, like... Because, like, if you have to use your phone to, like, communicate between people, you still have a lag between communication, so it's still better. It's even better to have like someone that kind of stutters through the language, I think. Still, you know, like, think about it. Would you rather talk to someone that doesn't have a great grasp but you can still communicate, or would you rather have to, for instance, the fastest way to do that would be like Google, where you like speak a sentence and then they speak a sentence and whatnot, you know, that kind of thing. But then that you're going to lose a lot of time that way, right?
Mm-hmm. That conversation would also be exhausting to have to, like, your brain understanding that quickly, because it would be almost instantaneous.
What do you mean?
Like, if you could speak with somebody and they understood what you said immediately and were able to respond back without any lag at all, it would just be exhausting.
Well, I'm kind of. I mean, isn't that what we usually do when we're fluent in a language? I mean, I'm kind of not following you here.
Maybe I didn't follow the conversation. Are you talking just strictly translation?
No, what I'm talking about is, like, you know, on Google there's this function now where, like, you set up two languages. So you have, for instance, English and Chinese. And then, like, so one person speaks a sentence in English and then Google translates it and says it back in Chinese. And then the other person hears that and then they respond to it in Chinese, and then Google listens and translates it back into English. And then you have a conversation that way. And see, like, I think, first of all, you have the lag of having to just listen to a sentence at a time. Yeah. And then also that you and this is like in the most perfect scenario, like if like the translation is like perfect. Let's say that it's not yet. It's far from that. You know, even in close languages like Spanish and English or English and Swedish, it's still really bad. But it gets the gist. But like, I'm just saying, in the perfect scenario, like, even then, doing this way, like, you'd have to do a sentence or like maybe you could do a whole paragraph at a time. But then you would still need to break it up, you know? Yeah. And then you would, and then also, if you do like a whole rant, you still have to wait for the thing to re-say it in the language that you want to translate into and wait for it. And then the lag is just, you know? Yeah. So, like, I think even just that still, you know, says we should learn languages rather than just rely on that technology. Sure.
But what if you could get the AI implanted in your brain with a translation that was accurate, that basically just immediately put the signal in your brain that as soon as it started translating, you understood the words?
That I would think that then language would start really, really like language learning would really start losing its value. But at the same time, I think the only thing that would really destroy language learning would be if we would be able to just take a language and download it into our brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, that would be insane.
Because, like, really... which I think that's actually one of my solutions to AI, but I want to talk about that a little later. But because, like, for me, like, language learning is a different logic. It's a different way of looking at the world. It's not just, you know, this is what you want to say and this is what I want to say, and then here, I'm just going to switch a code and then we understand the same thing. It's not necessarily like that. But a lot of people think it is, but that's why they do so horribly in language learning, because they just assume that you just, you know, it's like, okay, it's like you say, I catch the ball, and then there should be a word for I catch and ball in whatever language you're saying. But that's not necessarily true. And also the word order might be different too. I mean, as it is in Japanese. And then also in Japanese and Chinese, there's no word for the. And then I catch the ball. In the languages, I doesn't need to be used. The word I doesn't need to be used. You just, the idea of I is already...
It's just already implied.
Like in Spanish, right? You know? And so that's the thing. You can't just directly translate. It's a different logic and everything, you know? And even then, the other thing is, how the fuck do you translate jokes?
Jokes become really hard to translate.
See, that's the thing. Even if you have perfect translation, like, the only way you're going to be able to understand that joke if you have the same culture and you have the same cultural experiences that an entire people group have. Like, for instance, if someone calls, like, before, you know, I had the lamb chops for a while. Like, remember that? When I had lamb chops?
I don't remember
the giant sideburns.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like, we went to a place in this tourist destination here in Xiamen to get, like, paper cutouts of me and Fanfang's faces, which are really cool.
Yeah?
It's actually the thing on my WeChat here.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, and, like, I'll put that on our Twitter or Instagram. I think it's kind of cool to look at. But anyway, like, I joked that I look a lot like Sun Wukong. And Sun Wukong it's hard to say. I think it's translated in English as the Monkey King. But even then, it's like, you hear the word Monkey King, and it's like, who's the Monkey King? You know? So if I'm, like, in China, like, I say I look like Sun Wukong, and people are like, haha, that's funny. But if I said that in America, it's like, man, I look like the Monkey King. It's like, who's the Monkey King?
Yeah, it'd be like,
you know?
Okay, I guess. I mean, you're going to need to be more specific.
Yeah. And actually, you know what's, the Monkey King is just Goku.
Yeah,
but
Sun Wukong.
But, yeah, and, like, the thing is, that's interesting to me that you know the Chinese like transliteration.
I have definitely had a lot of brushes with the Journey to the West. A lot of the
pretty cool
stuff
story.
that I like is inspired by that, or has characters that are like, oh, we pulled this one from, like, League of Legends has a character named Wukong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's a
That's
monkey
cool.
with a giant staff that stretches.
And you know, the thing that's interesting, like the reason that Goku's called Goku is actually his name is Wukong. It's just like in Japanese, it's Goku.
Yeah.
It's like that Wu in Japanese and actually also in Minanhua is Go, and then in Kong is Ku. So yeah, Goku.
Yep.
So it's like, and yeah, his name is Son Goku, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the AI thing and the language, it's like, see, like a joke even like that, you know, it can't be translated. You have to know the cultural background and the language and all that, or else, like, you would have to explain it. It's kind of like those things that really bother me, like when I'm watching anime or something, where like just like for 3 frames or so, you get a giant explanation for a joke that just happened in the span of a second.
Translator note.
And then you're just like, holy shit, what was that? And you have to go try to get exactly in the 1 frame that explanation was at, and try to see, it's like, try to understand even a little bit of what the hell was going on just now. And sometimes, even then, when you see that explanation, it's kind of like trying to see like the definition of a word in a dictionary. Sometimes it's like, okay, I know you're explaining it to me, but I still don't get it.
And now I spent this time while I was trying to watch it and figuring this out, and it's no fun. It's like explaining a joke anyways, just
dude. I mean, even in your
own language.
Yeah, like even in your own language, it's like trying to explain an inside joke. Someone's are just like, oh, ha, ha.
Yeah, it's like, well, that didn't go over very well.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the thing. I think even if that kind of translation I was just talking about was perfect, then it would still, like, there would still be problems. But at the same time, let's say there would be another situation if, like, that person did have a lot of connection with that culture, but did it in, for instance, English. Like, they knew a lot about Chinese culture, but only in English. That joke would make more sense, I think.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm putting too much culture in the language. I mean, there probably is ways that you can do it. It's just like some people just don't know the culture. But I don't know. It's a thing that we really have to. I still believe that people will be learning languages for a long, long time. And
I think people will learn languages until sometime in the distant future when languages get homogenized because of reasons. I don't know.
And I would think that could only happen if we were to able to, like, what would be like,
I think we would have to be an interstellar species and worlds would become languages.
Yeah, see, I think we'd have to, like, infinitize our logic. Like, we'd have to be able to think, like, in all sorts of logic, like, at a blink of an eye. You know what I'm saying? Like, or make it at least easier. Like, because, like, languages are different ways to look at the world. And if we were to, the only way we would make them obsolete, I think, is if we were to, make it easier to switch between different logics, or just that we had one language that covers all logic. You know, kind of like there's this one artificial language that people have been coming up for a long time. I forgot what is it called,
Esperanto?
Like Logica or something. Not Esperanto. There's another language that's like it's like a computer language, but for humans to speak. And I forgot what it was called. It was like a Logica or something like that.
Huh.
And it's so complicated. It's trying to make every single possible logical combination of words feasible in one language. So, like, if you think about, like, the different grammatical structures in every language, like in Russian and Japanese and English, like, all of them can be possible in this language.
That sounds impossible.
And the thing is, it's so hard that, like, there's not even one person that has mastered it yet.
I'm not surprised.
People have had conversations in it, but not fluently yet. No one's fluent in the language
for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, are you hearing the construction noises?
I heard that
in the background
just now. I heard like
so
one
it's
thing.
It's probably gonna come out in the.
So, how about this for AI though? What if we developed AI to basically just become manual labor in a way that construction could be done not in months, but in like weeks, because they're just going to be more efficient than humans in every way. I'd be all for that. 100% AI could do that.
But I think the problem with that is more social than logistic, because like, what are we going to do with all the manual labor workers then? And it's even it's happening now.
Yeah, it's happening already.
What are we going?
And I
what
think
are we going to do with them?
A big problem is we keep trying to push AI into an economy that doesn't support it, because all it's doing is replacing laborers, but nobody, like, the money that goes into those AI doesn't go back to the people that they replaced.
Yeah.
So I think the world needs to come up with another way for either nobody needs to earn money because we have robots doing everything and they don't need to get paid. Or they need to figure out jobs for all these people.
Well, I mean, like, I think there's a couple of things with that. Is, first of all, using robots to replace jobs doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for the people. Like, for instance, I remember Jordan Peterson came up with the example of tellers at banks. They used to have to count money and whatnot, but then you got the automatic money counters, and now they freed up so much time to do actual banker teller things that are important to do, like giving people loans and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, and that's an example of machines doing good, you know. But then there's also things like you said, like, you know, if you completely like make people obsolete. For instance, the mining workers, I think that's a big one right now. You know, you'd have to in the past, like, for instance, the Industrial Revolution. That was one time where we were able to, you know, replace jobs, but then have a different job to do for the people that were doing the manual labor before, like in the farms. Like, once we got to the Industrial Revolution, we were able to industrialize agriculture, and then we were able to get more food out to everyone, and then all the farmers didn't have a job, so they went to the factories, you know. But then now we're all the factories. I think the problem is they were being replaced before. They were being replaced by processes that still needed humans, but now we're replacing it with just processes that need robots. And the humans controlling the robots you don't need as many humans to control the robots as you had to do when everyone was just in a factory and working, you know, like operating machinery. Everything's automated now. And, you know, so now, like, what are those people going to do? What are the factory workers going to do? I mean, one thing I've heard is, like, teach them coding and make them do really simple coding stuff, like things that are really, like, you know, menial things that are, like, really simple, that are more like, not crunching numbers, but, like, just kind of like doing, like, it's almost like doing really simple calculations that most coders have to do, but aren't like critical, things that you need to use critical thinking skills on. I forgot. There's a institution that does that. I forgot what it is. A foundation or something like that. Have you heard of that?
I think I've heard of that before. Like, it's a little silly to me, honestly, though, because you could always just go copy the code from somewhere when you need a calculation done. Or there are tons of libraries that already do that stuff.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing.
Like, coding languages are built around that idea that don't reinvent something that they've already built. So I think that creating that job, I feel like, isn't a good replacement for them. Like, and not everybody has the mindset to code. It is its own. I mean, it's like, no, not everybody wants to be a translator. It's kind of the same thing, translating your thoughts into a computer versus just into a regular language. So, I mean, retraining is good and all, but I think there's still a better option than just turning people into code monkeys.
It seems like you're more leaning towards like universal income or something.
I definitely did that. I think that there needs to be a whole new a whole new system that if we reach the point where AI can do everything for us, there's no reason for humans to need money. Because robots do everything.
See, the thing is, though, like, I think if we got to that, it would be more existential than, a financial situation. Because, like, work, I don't think is just for finance. Because, like, I think it also is something that people need in one sense. But, of course, like, it'd be better to choose what kind of work you want. I mean, for instance, I'll start with, like, the Buddha, says there's only suffering in life. And even if you look at the Christian tradition, which is pretty much all of Western civilization is built off, you have the idea of the original sin, and that now, after Adam and Eve ate from the tree of wisdom, God said, from now on, you only have suffering. Suffering is the only thing you have in your life. And that's pretty much what life really is. It's suffering, and you have to suffer to get something out of it. And I mean, like, the thing is, and that's what I base my life on now is, like, what is your favorite suffering? What is your favorite kind of suffering? Like, what are, like, for instance, you have to be a D&D master, you have to do work. Yeah. And sometimes you might not like it. You might be like, oh shit, I still have to do this campaign today. But I mean, like, you do get a lot out of it. It's pleasurable too. But you also have to do work. You have to put some blood, sweat, and tears in it sometimes.
Absolutely.
And if you want to get really, really, really good, you're going to have to work even when you really don't want to do it. And see, it also makes me think back to that one episode in Kino's Journey, and you probably know the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
the episode where the people go to work when they don't have to, but it's because they feel the need to work.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, there's also that existential question there, because even me, like, now, it is really, really hard to, sustain your own mode of life. Because I've felt it firsthand these last, like, 2 years, being just kind of, like, having so much time on my hands with having this full scholarship and whatnot. And sometimes just not having to do anything for months at a time. And then, like, for a while, it's like, sometimes it's just like you get up and it's like, what the fuck am I gonna do today? It's like all of a sudden you get washed over with this giant tidal wave of possibilities that day, and it's just like,
and there's not enough time in the world.
You get overwhelmed, man. So I can understand why some people would want to, just do something to do something. Yeah. So
I think if we moved into that thing, I think the world would turn more than it already is into this world of entertainers, because that's the only job left at that point, is either to entertain or be entertained.
But can't robots entertain too?
They could. Now they're infecting that one. I mean, could you imagine a robot streamer? Well, no, they already have like AI YouTubers.
Yeah, they do, and a lot of people think they're real. Actually,
yeah.
There's like 33% of people that never realize they're not real.
That's fucking crazy.
Like, what was it? Oh yeah, like I saw an AI that I don't know if it's the same as like the Harry Potter. I think it was called Robnik or something like that. Like, I don't know if it's the same situation or if it just like you fed stuff in it and actually spit out like like something. But like, there's an AI that was fed Eurovision's pop songs, and then it spit out a song called, what was it? Blue Jeans and Bloody Tears. And it was actually really catchy, but I don't know if it actually like built everything from scratch, or if it was just the lyrics, or if it was like I said, like the whole Robnik thing where it just like spit out little pieces and then a human still had to arrange them together. But there was some really catchy lyrics in it. I forgot, like the main lyric, like in the chorus, is like, blue jeans and bloody tears, you're not yourself if you're not yourself. It was like something like that. And it sounds pretty good. There was like, yeah, you should look it up. Blue jeans and bloody tears. It was actually really catchy, and I was actually the whole day after that, I was like, it was giving me earworms, and it was like, yeah, I can put that on my iPod, I think.
I'd listen to that, yeah.
Yeah, but like, with entertainment and stuff, like, I would still think, I mean, especially, like, for instance, like, think of, like, let's say, like, one of the easier things to reproduce, I think, would be more like anime, because you don't need to have things hyper realistic, like, so I think it would be easier for an AI to just create an anime, but like an actual live action thing, it's probably getting easier and easier, because now you're seeing deep fakes on the web, right?
Oh man, that is scary, honestly. Deep fakes are, oh
yeah, dude, like seriously, AI is getting scarier and scarier by the day. I mean, like, deep fakes, that's something I can see. That completely challenges our idea of seeing is believing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we already have enough people that buy into bullshit articles nonstop on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Like, to have a video of it, they'll just point to that and be like, look, that's completely real.
Yeah, dude. Like, this is the 21st century problem, is like, I think this whole fake news thing came out as, I mean, I think it's just, I don't know, it's more psychological than anything, and I think it has to do more like with tribalism, that we want to agree with the people that we look up to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's the right or left, it happens on both sides, really. Like, I even see myself, like, the thing that I always catch myself saying is like, oh, there's scientific research behind it, or they say blah blah blah, blah, or oh, scientists say, or something like that. And it's like, who are the scientists I'm talking about? What research are you talking about? Give me citations. How many people can do that? It's like, even if you have like even the smartest of the smartest people, it's like, still it's hard to remember citations and stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes you just take something as fact and then you can get called out on it. Like, if you don't cite it, absolutely. Like, and yeah, I think more people need to ask that. They need to be like, can you show me where you learned this? Like, don't just say you learned it from the guy down the street who was yelling about it. Like,
and see, and then the other thing is, like, if you cite some research or something, is that research, you know,
provable
based on fact?
Yeah,
it's like, does it have ethos? That's the thing we really need to. It's going back all the way to the ancient Greeks. You know, ethos is super important. It's like, for instance, like, who would you rather take as a personal trainer? Like, Greg the couch potato that can barely lift his fat ass from the couch, or, you know, Chad the the muscle dude. I mean, like, to be honest, I don't want either of them. But, you know, if I had to pick, I would pick the guy with muscles, because I know that he has, you know...
He's at least doing something.
But at the same time, there's another thing. I mean, you know, Greg can also have ethos if he was a trainer before. And he knows how to train. He's been an athlete in the past. You know, he knows what to do. You know, but at the same time, it's like you wouldn't have visual representation of your goal. You know.
Well, and then you have the problem. You also have the problem. I'm going to relate this back to AI. Hold on, I can do it. We've gone a little bit down the fake news rabbit hole, but I got this.
Yeah.
But then you also have the problem that anybody basically can publish something in this day and age. You can just be like, hey, I want to publish on this blog, and then say, oh, look, I have research I published here. But what if we had, and here's something we could use AI for, would be to congregate that stuff and be like, we probably already do this somewhere, but to congregate that, and you put a source in, you say, hey, how accurate do you think this is? And it'll go, this is only published in this one place and nobody else thinks this. Or... Oh,
I never thought about that.
Like,
there's probably
it could be something we could use to fight those deepfakes and stuff. You could put it into another AI and say, hey, is this true? And it would go, here's all the list of things that show that it's false, and here's the list of things that show that it's true. And then whichever one's bigger, you can kind of work yourself out. But that still takes human critical thinking. Like, AI still won't be able to...
Well,
it'll never be able to decide for you.
It's going to turn into the counterfeit war, you know? Like, you're going to... Or even, like, everything's just going to turn into cyber war in the future, I think. It's like, you're just going to always have, like you said before, the white hats versus the black hats. And I think that's what it's going to turn into. Deep fakes are going to turn into that, too. It's like, you know... There's going to be people trying to figure out if something is counterfeit or not, and then there's going to be some people that are going to be trying to make the counterfeits, you know? And the thing is, I think very soon it's going to get to a point visually, there's no way you're going to be able to tell the difference. I think in the future it's all going to be done in the code side. You know, it's like, is this fake or not? It's like, oh, well, here's something that shows in the code. It's like it's almost like you're saying, here's a human, and I'm going to look in its DNA to see
if it's actually a human.
If it's human or not. Yeah, you know? So that's what it's going to turn into. Because, like, the thing is, it's like, let's use a human example again. It's like, if you have a fake human, you know, like, you open it up, all the same organs and whatnot, but then you open up the DNA and there might be like one little strand that's different or something. That's how I see it. I'm trying to pull out all the metaphors I can to understand code, but that's like I have a very, 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 very shallow understanding of code. But yeah, that's how I kind of see it. Is like deepfakes will have to be done in the code realm. I don't know how you feel about that, Coder.
I mean, that's going to be the only way to do it, is to actually look and see where it's been modified. Because there has to be signs of it that it's... Because, I mean, if they didn't film them doing it, they had to have added it later, which means they would have had to put a layer of something on it or inject something somewhere that it'll never look like an original recording. So we'll have to develop some kind of technology to fight all of that fake information that it can start to happen.
Oh, and in another posing question, what happens if we start having cyber brothels?
Just VR brothels, or like, I don't know.
It's already a problem with porn nowadays, you know? Like, now what's going to happen if you can get the entire experience just through, you know, virtual reality, or maybe even just like have like super hyper realistic sex robots, you know?
I mean,
like,
and then you're going to have like, we already have toys and stuff that do that. Is it illegal to go somewhere to have sex with a robot?
I mean, like, there's already like the doll brothels. Have you seen those before?
I have not. I've seen the real dolls. I'm assuming it's something like that.
And even, like, you know what's really interesting is, like, a couple years ago here in China, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they had this app where you can order, like, you can rent a sex doll, and they bring it to your house, you use it, and then you give it back, and then they just recirculate it, you know? But I think it got shut down really quickly by the government.
Probably for health concerns, if they could. Like, that's going to be... There's some rules for that needs to be ironed out.
But
if that was going to happen.
I mean, like, it's the kind of... I think it's the same health things that you would do for, like, a hospital, or even, like, you know, what is it? Like, you know, the brothels, the legal brothels down in that one county in Nevada. Uh-huh. You know, like, you just have certain checks, and it'd be a lot easier because it's just, it's a doll, you know? You probably just throw it in, like, a sanitary bath or something that kills everything on it, you know? Uh-huh. Like, but with a human, you can't do that. You can't just be like, okay, Candy,
time to be disinfected.
Yeah, just dip yourself in that vat of chlorine right there, and then you'll be fine. You can go have sex with that dude. You know, it's like, yeah, we're going to give you a chlorine enema right now so you can do whatever you got to do in a little bit. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that to a regular person, but a doll, I mean, I'm pretty sure they get these back in the like hundreds, and then they just throw them in a giant chlorine bath or something.
Yeah,
then,
just,
you know,
bulk.
Kills all the gonorrhea.
Yeah, I mean,
and the AIDS and everything. You know, like, so, like, I don't know. In one sense, I'm not really sure, because, like, I think that would end a lot of, like, female-male... Well, actually, just relationships in general, because, like, sex is a really important part of a relationship, I think. Because, like, it makes people feel closer together. It's something to do with our, like, you know...
Yeah, there's an intimacy to it.
Yeah, so, like, that's the thing, like, with porn and stuff, you know, like, I'm not sure, I'm more against porn myself, like, even though I do still watch it, you know, like,
I agree with that. I think that it's oversaturated.
I think it's more that I think, yeah, I watch it more that I'm addicted now. I'm still addicted to it, but I don't watch it like I used to. I used to watch it like 3, 4, 5 times a day. Uh-huh. And, you know, like, I remember in high school, that was the worst. I was I think that was probably part of the reason I had a lot of sleeping problems and just problems with women in general back then. Now it's, at least I'm not, I probably only watch or see, look at porn pictures or something, like maybe once or twice once a week or bi-weekly or so. But when I'm really in a bad mood, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I need a little
a little pick me up.
I need a hit, you know. That's pretty much what it is. It's, to me, it's
I have
just
that
a
same
drug.
feeling sometimes. Yeah, I would definitely put it in that category.
Yeah, dude.
It's just, and
so like,
we could probably do a whole podcast on that one. Although I don't know if I want that out in the open that much.
I don't really care too much, but if you don't want to do that, like, I'm totally fine.
I mean, we could always just talk about it. Because it's... the porn industry's gotten a little bit out of control, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
You know, that would be a fun conversation. There's a ton of stuff that happens in that industry.
Yeah. Which, it's hard to... It's a hard topic to talk about, but I think it'd make for an interesting conversation. But, you know, if we were ever wanting to put this stuff on YouTube, like,
that one's a no.
Yeah, like, it'll be demonetized pretty much instantly. But, you know, ending, what is it? Closing words on AI. I'm scared. I'm super scared.
I am. But, I think the word for me would be nervous. Like, excited but nervous, because I think it opens a lot of doors to humanity, but it also has a lot of problems that could happen.
Well, you know, I forgot. I have two solutions. So, first of all, this is my personal take on it. Like, if I were to become obsolete, then I would just become a monk. I'm just going to become a Buddhist monk, and I'm going to go out into the mountains, and I'm going to find, like, some people to just hang out with, and then I'm just going to stay there. You know? I think that's what I'll do.
That's a cool idea.
Because I think, like, if I don't have any meaning in this society, then I'm just going to just try to reach nirvana, I guess. But then the other thing that I see a solution to is if we were to able to upgrade humans to connect our consciousness with the robots, you know. So like us being to, like, you know, we get to a point where robots have vastly more knowledge and ability than us, but then we find out how to, or actually, you know, we get to that point and we just let the robots figure it out for us, and then we just morph into a giant consciousness, God consciousness, I guess, you know?
Uh-huh. We would just become one with the singularity.
Yeah, so, like, I guess that could happen too, and actually that might even make, you know, the Buddhist, like, monk's journey obsolete too, because maybe that's also what, I mean, that's kind of what we're going for when we're, you know, trying to become a, you know, being a monk. We're trying to just be one with God or be one with the universe, you know? So maybe that would make that, we would just become gods, you know, I think.
Well,
so,
on that note, I think we can...
that's my solution.
We can wrap this up. This has been a fun conversation. Yeah. Let's...
Yeah.
If you have thoughts on this, you think that we are dumb idiots about code and AI and stuff, you can tweet at us at Across the Other Pond Pod on Twitter.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then we will talk to you about it too. And we will say, hey, you person there, You got thoughts. We have thoughts. Let's share thoughts because that's how the world goes around. It doesn't go around by gravity. It goes around by the conscious thoughts of the human race. And that's a warm feeling inside my heart.
I feel good about that. Let's end it right there. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Yep, jump back
Let's jump
right
back
into
in the
that
pond.
pond. Bye-bye.